Our topic is all about introduction to Indonesian history, cultures, traditions, and beliefs. Indonesia is the world's largest island nation, and it is stretching from east to west some 3,200 miles or 5,120 kilometers on both sides of equator in Southeast Asia. At least 3,000 of the country's 13,667 islands are inhabited and a population of about 190 million, more than 113 million in Java alone. Most of Indonesians are of Malay origin, though in the East Melanesian influences are common. Indonesian was previously known as the Dutch East Indies. It consists of all part of some of the world's largest islands, including Sumatra, Java, most of Kalimantan, Borneo, Sulawesi or Celebes, Halmahera, and the west of New Guinea or Papua, and numerous smaller islands, of which Bali, just east of Java, is best known. So, the people of Indonesian. The national motto of Indonesian is Unity in Diversity, expresses one of modern Indonesian's major goals, the development of a sense of national identity, transcending purely ethnic and regional loyalties. Some 300 ethnic groups, speaking more than 200 languages or dialects, however, share a Malay racial heritage. Emphasis on the need for communal solidarity has formed a pattern of thought and action that shapes the varied aspects of the including politics. The Indonesian trait of seeking consensus through discussion promotes national unity. Next topic is all about the famous people in Indonesia. The first famous people in Indonesia is Lucia Francisca Susi Susanti. She is born in Tasik, Malaya, West Java on February 11, 1971, was an Indonesian badminton player. So, Lucia Francisca Susi Susanti was an Indonesian badminton player. She won the Olympic gold medal for women's singles in the 1992 Olympic in Barcelona and the bronze medal at the 1996 Atlanta Games. Susi Susanti is married to Alan Budikusuma, who also won a gold medal in 1992 in Barcelona Olympics. The second famous people is Jaya Soprana, also known as Puakok Jin, and he is born on January 27, 1949. He is an Indonesian composer, pianist, businessman, and television presenter. Jaya Soprana was born in Denpasar, Bali to Lambang and Lily Soprana. Jaya Soprana is one of Chinese descent but grew up within the Javanese. Next is Jahaling. Jahaling is an orchestra conductor. Jahaling was born in Jakarta, Indonesia, of Chinese descent and is now an American citizen. Jahaling began to play the piano at age of 4 and studied at the Jakarta School of Music. At age 17, he won the Jakarta Piano Competition and 1 year later was awarded a Rockefeller Grant to attend the Juilliard School. There, he completed a master's degree and studied piano with. He then studied orchestral conducting at the Yale School of Music under Otto Warner Miller and receives a Doctor of Musical Arts degree. So, Jahaling founded the San Francisco Symphony Youth Orchestra in 1981 and served as its first music director. Next is Yuni Sharaan, Indonesian. So Yuni Sharaan is an Indonesian singer, and Yunisharan is elder sister of her singer Krisdayanti. Yunishara was born in Wayo Sityaning Budi in Batu Malang. Her first debut was in the music festival called Festival Bintang Radio and Televisi in 1987 when she was 15 years old. She was second place. In 1999, Yunisharang participated in the Sam Festival and she managed to win first place. Yunisharaan released her first record in 1990 titled Jatuh Cintala, which means falling in love again in English. In 1999, she released another record titled Hilang Permatak. Her choice of songs are mainly popular old melancholic songs. An example is the Kirunkong style. Next famous people is Tura Sudero. Tura Sudero is an Indonesian actor and he is a famous comedy show in Extravaganza broadcasted by Trans TV. Tura Sudero's movie which received award in the 2004 Indonesia Film Festival or FFI was Arisan. Next is Rumal Rama. He is an Indonesian dangdut singer during the height of his stardom in 1970s. Rumal Rama became the self-proclaimed Raha Dangdut or King of Dangdut with the group Suneta. Rumal Rama was known as a stage name Umal Rama before he made a pilgrimage to Mecca and became a Haji. Next is Mariana Renata. She is an Indonesian actress born to a French father, Andri Dantik, and an Indonesian mother of Japanese, Chinese, Italian descent, who is Anita Kirana. Mariana Renata has graced the catwalks of Paris, Jakarta, Singapore, Vietnam before she became one of the nationwide icons for Lux soap brand. Next is Nadine Chandrawinata. She is she was Miss Indonesia in 2005 and a delegate representing Indonesia in the 2006 Miss Universe pageant. Nadine Chandrawinata was the second Miss Indonesia to participate in the pageant, preceded by Artika Sari Devi after a long hiatus in 1996. Her mother is a German and her father is Chinese Indonesian. Despite of her stunning beauty and model modelisque figure, many doubt her public speaking ability since she stuttered a lot during interviews. Nadine Chandrawinata has also repeatedly used incorrect words from time to time. Her English is limited, which was made obvious in an interview published in the Miss Universe 2006 website. So, next is the historical places. The historical places is the National Monument or Munas as it's also called was built during the Sukarno era. This 137-meter tall marble monument is topped with a flame coated with 35 kilos of gold. At the base is a historical museum and a hall for meditations, one of the popular historical places of Indonesia. It stands for the people's determination to achieve freedom for their country together with their efforts in the proclamation of independence in August 1945. A bird's eye view of the city and the sea can be seen from the top of the monument. So the National Monument or Munas is stand for the people's determination to achieve freedom for the country together with their efforts in the proclamation of independence. Next is the Pura Bisaki. Pura Bisaki is a sanctuary over 1,000 years old and is known as the Mother Temple of Bali. The greatest of all Balinese sanctuaries perched high on the slopes of Mount Agong. It's the holiest of all Balinese temples present, with 22 separate structures. The temples were built between the 14th and the 17th centuries. In the courtyard sits the prominent shrines of Lord Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu in their lotus throne. It is one of the most historical places of Indonesia up to the present. Next is the Taman Ayon Temple of the 18th century. So the Taman Ayon Temple is a great royal temple which served as the family temple of Mingwi dynasty, whose kingdom survived until the late 1800s. The temple, famous for its exquisite wooden mirrors, are pagoda-like shrines, and it is surrounded by a pool. This historical site of Indonesia looks like a tiny island which is surrounded by the ocean. So the Taman Ayon Temple is or a pagoda-like shrines, or it is surrounded by a pool or the ocean. Circumcision is a short story written by Pramoedya Ananta, one of Indonesia's most important writers. This story follows the experiences of a young boy who is struggling with the decision to undergo the circumcision. Like the other children in the village, I went to a small mosque school every night to learn how to chant the Quran. Nothing pleased a child more. We paid 2.5 cents of a week for a lamp oil. Chanting began at 5 in the afternoon and continued until 9 at 9. It was the only way we could get out of doing our homework. Our chanting consisted largely of telling jokes, talking in private about sex, annoying other people as they pray the sunset and evening prayers, and waiting for our turn to pray. This was our world at age of 9. So when they was age of 9, they used to went to a small mosque school every night so that they can learn how to chant the Quran. Nothing please that it can please a child more. I like my friends, wanted to be a good Muslim. None of us have been circumcised yet. Our religious observances extended only as far as annoying people at prayer, avoiding homework, praying as a group in the mosque at the Friday prayers without understanding a word of the Arabic. We were not so different from other Muslims. Then one of my friends was circumcised. There was a large celebration, and I wondered if I really was a proper Muslim, not having been circumcised. I thought about it to myself. I wanted to be a proper Muslim, but could I, without being circumcised? No one in the world knew what was I thinking. In our small town, Blora, boys were usually circumcised between the ages of 8 and 13. The celebrations were as grand as possible. Girls were incised at 15 days. There was absolutely no celebration at all. So in the story it states that the child was not being circumcised, and he think to himself that he want to be circumcised because he always think that was he a real Muslim, because in their town there was a large celebration that will happen. One night my father came to me. I don't know where he had been. The house lights were all out except for a single light in the middle of the house. I could tell he was very happy. At the same time, my mother was telling me about a Haji who had a lot of wives. It was an amazing story. Because of my father's presence, the story died. Are you brave enough to be circumcised, my son? He asked. There was a hopeful smile on his face. I was terrified, but I wanted to be a genuine Muslim. My father always frightened me. I don't know why. His smile always conquered my fear. What would you like for a circumcision gift? A ceremonial cloth or a sarong? A cloth, father. Then my father asked Tatu, my younger brother, age 7, the same question. So, di sa kagabi nga niabot iyang papa, then wa siya kahibaw di siya agikan. Then gipauta na siya gusto ba siya nga matuli. So, pag-ingon siyang papa nga gusto ba siya matuli, nahadlok siya then pero gusto po niya nga mahimo nga genuine Muslim. Then, ingon niyang papa nga naa siya gift pa kung matuli na siya. Cloth bunny or sarong. Are you brave enough, Tatu? Sure, sure. Tatu was delighted. Father laughed contentedly. The lamp highlighted his white teeth and dark red gums. Mother rose from the mattress on the floor. When do you intend to have them circumcised? She asked. As soon as possible, he replied. Mother lay down to rest again. She did not continue her story about the lascivious Haji. You must thank God for making your father want to have you both circumcised, she told us. Yes, mother, we replied. Your grandmother and other ancestors in heaven will be delighted when we find you out you've been circumcised, she said. Yes, mother. So, Haji is mo ni siya ang title nga nakakuan sa pangalan sa usa ka Muslim. I could scarcely sleep that night. I imagined how the cat would heart. I also thought of the new clothes and sandals my father would buy me, the new shirt, the headband, the feast of nothing going to school, the guests, the presents I would receive. I wanted the clothes and headband so I could be good Javanese as well as good Muslim. I wanted the sarong, hopefully for 2 or 3 of them. My circumcised friends would be jealous too. I rose in the morning full of excitement. Tato and I went to school very early. Usually our feet seemed to hate going to school. Now they flew. Everyone listened to us. The uncircumcised children will look at us with respect, especially those who were older than us. Their eyes never gazed at us like that before. The teachers treated us kindly. Soon we would be real Muslims. Then, and this was more important than anything else, we could take our place in heaven, just as our religious teacher, the Kyaya, had taught us. If we were circumcised, we will go to heaven. There would be no need for those beautiful things we wanted. They were not ours forever. Our friends at the Muski school were stunned. The Kyaya looked at us the way the teachers had. I felt taller and more important than everyone else. Heaven's gates seemed to open in front of me. Our teacher had promised us lovely hour as well. I imagined them to be as beautiful as a certain girl all the boys at school talk about. When I'm circumcised, I'll be a real Muslim, I told Dakyaya. I can go to heaven. He laughed happily and added, and you can have 40 hours as well. I hope they don't have 6 or 8 teeth like a bitch, I said. He laughed again. I want one like Shirati. She goes to our school. She's beautiful. He laughed. And I fish in the rivers of milk every day, Tatu added. Again, the Kyaya laughed. His unbrushed teeth were revolting. Our older uncircumcised friend listened in silence. Their eyes showed that they were afraid of not going to heaven but to hell, and of missing out on the hour. From then on, we chanted delightedly. We got our schoolwork done as quickly as possible. Every Monday and Thursday, until the school year was over, we fasted. We were both promoted. 2 weeks before the end of the school year, Father decided to stage a play and to hold the circumcision on the next day. The play was to be performed by boys in his private school. He wanted to do this every year, so that the poor could have their children circumcised as well. The response was disappointing. People were ashamed of the idea that someone else should pay to have their children circumcised. So this time only, 6 boys were to be circumcised. Myself, Tatu, our new nephew of father, age 10, a stepchild, age 16, and two poor boys from the edge of town. Father's other stepson, a youth of 18 who had already a child by our maid, refused. He said his own father would arrange it for him. As far as I can recall, fathers wish to close the year with a play and a chanty circumcision were never carried out in a satisfactory manner. At the time, I was in the class 6. Tatu was in class 2. 5 days before the close of the school, the six of us had to learn the traditional Panimbrana tune, so we could tell the audience of the play we were going to be circumcised the next day and ask them for their blessings. Our teacher wrote a play about a goat that got lost. At last, the one day we had longed for arrived. Our grandmother gave us green silk sarongs. Our mother gave us lacquered sandals and new shirts. The girl students gave us a fan each. Father gave us 8 children's books in Dutch. We forgot about the coming morning's pain. So, because of the gift that given to them, nakalimot sila of unsa man jud kasakit ang matuli. The school was crowded with spectators. A meal was served: sweet potato, boiled peanuts, fermented cassava, and various delicacies. The six of us lined up on the stage. I wore a ceremonial cloth and headband, as did my brother. The others were bareheaded. As soon as the curtain opened, the gamelan percussion orchestra began. We bowed. I felt very grand. The audience watched us, fascinated as we told them of our circumcision the next day. The girls gazed in awe. Soon there would be 6 more eligible bachelors. When the song was done, we bowed again. The audience clapped loudly, then the curtain fell. Our task was over. We were free. There were a few spectacles in our town. People came from everywhere to watch the play. The 4 teaching areas were crowded. As soon as the gamelan faded, other music began. The catchy peanut flower song, Rosemary, cowboy songs from folk operas, and traditional songs with Hawaii influence. So, gamelan is an traditional orchestra, or it is also a musical instrument. A lot of people patted us on the shoulder after the play to give us courage. That blesses us too. Tato sang and sang in bed until eventually his voice grew soft that he fell asleep. Circumcision days were among the most important days in our part of town. They were like birthdays, weddings, funerals, and public holidays. The news always spread rapidly. Although mother did not issue a single invitation, she received contributions from all over the town. As happened on all other occasions, we went to bed and rose early. The house rang with noise at 4:30. Tatu and I had to be bathed and dressed in new clothes. My younger sisters had new clothes too. My mother wore a new skirt with a traditional design known as broken swords, a pattern of parallel slanting lines, and an ornamental jacket with narrow labels. The jacket was a present from an aunt who taught in girls' school in Rimbang. She also wore a green stole. Father was dressed in his school clothes, a broken sword, sarong, and a jacket button on the neck. As usual, he wore no shoes. At home, he sometimes wore a wooden sandal. The neighbors seemed to be affected too. They rose early, dressed in new clothes, and accompanied us to the school, about 50 meters from our house. A shelter of tall netting had been erected inside the school. The candidates for circumcision sat in chairs near it. Gradually, more and more adults came. Children swarmed around the center. The girls did not come quite as far as forward as the boys. Finally, the circumcision specialist, Kalak, came. He brought a bundle of handkerchiefs containing razors. An old man came over to us. "Don't be afraid," he said. "It won't hurt. It's just like being bitten by a red ant." I laughed when I was circumcised. There were a lot of comforting voices, but no matter how sweet the voices sounded, we were still scared. Then it was time. Mother and father rose from their large chair in the center of the guest and approached the circumcision hut. Pride and elevation showed on their faces. The first one in was the stepson. He was older than the rest of us. The other adopted son, who had already fathered a child, did not attend the celebration. The children crowded so close to the shelter that the adults were forced to drive them away. I was terrified. I wanted to be a genuine Muslim, but that did not stop me from being frightened. My heart seemed to beat more quickly every time the Kalak bawled out of prayers. Soon my adopted brother was led from the shelter. He could scarcely walk. His face and lips were pale. He seemed exhausted. They sat him on a chair and placed an earthenware dish filled with a kitchen ash between his legs to catch the blood dripping from his penis. One after another the boys went into the shelter and came out pale and scarcely able to walk. At last my wait was over. Two or three people helped me by the shoulders, as though afraid I might run away, and led me inside. There was a cruel look on the Kalak face. At least I thought there was. I sat on the chair and tipped my back. Someone held by the shoulders. An old man pressed my forehead down so that I could not see. There was a ball of ash under the chair. The specialist grabbed my penis, then manipulated it until it felt very hot. Then he cut the foreskin with razor. I was circumcised. I watched the blood drip from the end of my penis. "Don't move," said one of the men. "No, don't wait. Wait till the first flow is over." I watched the first flow. A thick thread of congealed blood slowly and vanished into the bowl of ash. Tatu, being the youngest, was last. We sat in a row of chairs. From time to time, trial drops of fell into the earthenware dishes. Everyone looked at us. Mother came over and kissed me on the cheek. I was aware of how much they loved me and I cried. She kissed Tatu too. Father came over and said, "Well done, well done." The children began to leave. Finally, only adults were left in the sixth family classroom. One by one, they excused themselves and left. The circumcised boys walked home. We were treated like kings all day. People did whatever we asked. The families of the two poor boys brought us chicken and rice. "Well, Mook, do you feel any different?" "I'm very happy, Mother," I replied. "Do you feel like a real Muslim?" she asked again. The question startled me. I did not feel any different, even though I was proper Muslim now. "Feel the same way as I did yesterday," I told her. "And the day before that, I still don't feel real Muslim." "Perhaps you haven't kept the 5 daily prayer times?" "Yes, I have every day." "Your grandfather went to Mecca. Perhaps you'd feel different if you make the pilgrimage. Feel like a proper Muslim." "On a boat, Mother?" Tatu asked. "Yes, on a boat to Arabia." I suddenly realized that I will never be a genuine Muslim. My parents were poor. We would never be able to afford to go to Mecca. We were poor Mook. Even though we wanted to be rich, we knew we never would be. Once I recovered, I never wanted to be a good Muslim again. Poverty killed any ambition anyone in our neighborhood might have. Gradually, Tatu and I became all the other children who had nothing because poverty had taken everything. So that's all. The story begins with a child named Mook expressing his desire to prove himself to his faith through circumcision. However, as the story progresses, the child reveals his fears and anxieties about the procedure and the expectations placed upon him. The story also touches upon the themes of religious identity, family dynamics, and societal pressures.